Okay, so here I go. So I'm very blessed to be in the company here virtually and yes, metaphysically with my dear friend Diane Lester, who has just been such an angel in my life, and she's been so helpful with Joanne's healing journey with the virus, which is pretty sure to my mind what Joanne's been coping with. So Kira, I want to thank you for all of that, and I want to give you some space to talk about these exciting and powerful healing times that we're in. What's your take on things?
Well, really, as I said in my interview with Caroline Stevens on Sunday, basically, it really is about going within. See, when we have challenging times, we generally tend to live on the surface, don't we? And it's a little bit like, a buoy on the surface of the ocean that's bobbing up and down in response to the waves. Now, that's where most people's consciousness is, unfortunately.
Yes.
But when you live at the surface level, then you're always going to be vulnerable. You're going to be battered and beaten down. Another thing that occurs to me is it's like Jesus said, because Caroline is big on the Bible, you see.
Okay.
Jesus says that don't build your house on sand, build it on rock.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't, then, all manner of adversities will affect you seriously.
Sure. Well, I just heard Eckhart Tolle quote that same passage from the Bible. It's quite apt for right
obviously
now.
On my wavelength, bless him.
Absolutely. Great minds think alike. And Kira, you've been a healer and a mystic your whole life. Is that fair to say?
Well, yes. I've been awake all of my life since I was, at least 1 year old.
Right.
I didn't have to take a pill as Neo did in the Matrix.
Right. Bless you. So, sweetheart, you're just such a great gift to us, and you're so generous with your gifts, and I'm just so grateful to you for all that you're doing here. I'm sure you're very busy right now with what's happening in the world.
Well, as you can appreciate, many people are responding to my offers to remove this virus's code. Even people that are not actually diagnosed with it want this.
Right.
So, I'm not prepared. I'm not charging for this, Lou, because I don't think humanity should be suffering with this. I think it's atrocious, quite frankly.
Right.
And anybody that creates any biological weapon or any virus of this type, well, I wouldn't really want to be in their karmic shoes because,
Sure. Yes. I've been sending it back to the creator of this consciousness. That's the prayer that my guides gave me. Yeah. Beautiful.
It's very important to remove the code, delete it. It's a bit like removing your skeleton. If you remove the skeleton from the body, then the body collapses because it has no support system. So when you remove the matrix code of any virus or bacteria, then it collapses. It can't function anymore.
Sure. Brilliant. Well, that's
so
great.
I can do that. But you see, the thing is, Lou, we all have this ability latent within us.
Yes.
And the reason we have this is because we are creator beings.
Right.
Made in the image of God Almighty.
Yes.
Amen
to that.
Basically, it is latent in humanity, but it just so happens that I have been able to tap into it for 2 years now, and I've been using it for, to great ends, because I've been using it on cancer work, actually removing cancer encoding, tumours. I'm not going to make an astounding announcement that I can heal cancer, because at the end of the day, if a soul has chosen to leave the earth plane and they've chosen cancer as the way out, there's nothing that I can do or anybody can do.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Well, now you're opening a good door to a whole other subject here, which is what I've been getting in my sitting with this situation, which is what is it in people's belief system that is attracting this experience, who are getting sick and or dying, you know? And what I get is, like you said, about being on the surface and not exploring the depths, is it's a real there's a lack of self-love and self-worth that I think this is exploiting. What's your take on energetically what's happening there?
Well, yes, as I said earlier, people who live on the surface will be more vulnerable, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Crisis throws
it
us
is, in
into
my opinion,
ourselves.
a golden opportunity to take time to go within
Exactly.
and to find the divine self within that
Yes,
exists
yes,
uh, at a much higher frequency, higher dimensional level. And that's the real us. That's the divine creator within us,
yes.
or our inner warrior, if you like. I mean, I remember reading years ago in a little booklet called Light on the Path,
Okay.
where they said that, you know, let the warrior within do your battles for you,
Wow.
take your battles on for you.
Wow.
Because at the end of the day, Jesus said, um, I of myself can do nothing.
Yes, I was just going to share
So,
that.
so
Yeah.
we're basically in a different, so the ego self, the surface self thinks, well, you know, this is it, I can do anything I want, and you know,
Right.
I'm okay.
Right.
But we're disconnected at that point from the heart
Yes.
center
Yes.
and the divine center, which is where our love, peace, power, joy comes from.
Yes.
And of course, above all, as well, faith.
Yes. Yes.
Um, Faith is not faith in God. It does say in the Bible, there are lots of quotes about, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible unto ye, and according to your faith be it done unto ye.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean faith in God. I think it's been misinterpreted.
All right.
Um,
What do you see it as?
faith is a power.
Just faith in
Faith is a
yourself
power.
and life.
It's your belief system. So faith is what belief programs you're running.
Right. It's done unto you as you believe.
Yeah. So
Yes.
if you, for instance, believed, now some might say this is a bit reckless to say this, but
Oh, good.
if you really, really believed in your heart of hearts, Lou, that you
Yeah.
are immune
Yeah.
to any bacteria,
Yeah.
you will be.
Yes. Of course. Yes.
But again, I'm going to say also that the majority of the populace probably isn't in that at that level. So I'm
You,
not going to say to everybody, please just go out and say, oh, I'm immune to this, because
right. Right.
that's
Yeah.
very irresponsible.
Bless you. Bless you. Yeah, darling. Well, you're Kira, my friend. You're my cup of tea. You know, entirely and completely. We're on such a deep wavelength here about all of this because, yeah, my guides say, "What do you believe? How deeply do you believe it? And is it your truth now?" And those are three ways to go a little bit deeper. They talk about belief, the mind, understanding the heart, and knowing the soul and spirit. And crisis throws us back into ourselves. It forces us to explore the depths. And like we're saying here, now everyone is kind of bringing up and looking at everything in a new light, which is the gift of this planetary healing crisis, I've been calling it. And yes, when we can come back to peace in our hearts and love for ourselves and each other, and appreciation for love, joy, appreciation, gratitude, I like to say, for life and all of its gifts, then we feel safe, loved, and supported again, and we feel healthy, and life is a wonderful thing. So there's a tremendous polarization, to my mind, happening with all of this, of people either going down or going up, but being asked not to stay where we've been, that invited all this chaos into our experience, to move forward consciously.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely a gift. I'm in agreement there, Lou.
Yeah.
It is a gift that people probably don't recognize or realize. Um,
Yeah.
you have to just dive deep to find the real you inside.
Yes. Yes.
And that
Yes.
actually reminds me
Yes, dear.
of a group many years ago, uh, whether you remember them, called Quintessence. That
English
must have
folk
been
group.
about your time.
English folk group, like
Uh,
Still I Span and Fairport Convention.
yeah, that sort of
All
ilk.
right. Yeah, not too.
They,
Yeah, I remember that stuff. Yeah.
they produced an album called Dive Deep, which I still have.
Okay, of course.
So, the words on that are exactly what we're talking about now.
Yeah, what do they say? What's the lyrics there?
Oh, dive deep into your mind until you find what true love is.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I
They also had a track on there called Brahman, and this is the track. It was an amazing track. I used to meditate to
okay,
when I was a teenager.
okay,
Yeah, it used
beautiful.
to take you very, very deep.
Yes, yes. Um, well, I mean, what comes to my mind, honestly, is the Beatles. We were talking about the space between us all and the people who find themselves, trapped inside this wall of illusions. Never glimpse the truth till it's far too late when they pass away. I think that was George Harrison from Tomorrow Never Knows.
Mhm.
John Lennon. Yeah, I mean, this is like we say, the 60s was such a powerful grounding in the spiritual and the mystical, and and the heart, and creativity. And to my mind, just for as a side topic here, I truly believe everyone being on retreat right now and being asked to search their souls about the meaning of their life and our relationship to each other and to these mysteries is going to be a profoundly creative and healing time once we overcome our fears of our own safety. That's my take on it as well.
Very true. And I agree with you about the 60s. In fact, I did mention that in my chat with Caroline, and I noticed, you'll have to laugh a little, I have to notice somebody, she put her video on YouTube, put the podcast on YouTube, and somebody's commented, because I mentioned about the 60s being a harmonious period, and it felt like a lot of unity and groups were collecting together. Um,
Oh yeah,
there
tremendous.
was a definite rise in consciousness, but somebody's left a comment to say that was only because of LSD. I think that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, I think they missed the forest from the trees on that comment. I love the joke. Robin Williams says, "If you can remember the '60s, you weren't there." That's his take on all the weed that was smoked and all the acid that was dropped. Bless you. Well, I love that we're having a laugh about everything in the midst of the Titanic hitting the iceberg and taking on water here. I think it shows our faith, like you were saying, my friend, that we really do know that we're going to come through all this stronger and clearer at the end of things, which is really the invitation here, I'd say.
We definitely are, Lou. We
Brilliant.
just need perhaps a little bit of help. But then again, when we are forced into seclusion, then we have the time. If we don't have to go out to work, or we've been given the opportunity and the time to reflect
Yes. Yes.
on our lives, and maybe make life-changing decisions,
Yes.
and discover more about ourselves. what
Yes.
what makes us tick, because in everyday life people are focused on the outside all the while, aren't they? They get up, have a meal, go to work, come back, watch TV, go to bed. It's a
Right.
continuous cycle, and they never have time to really think about the serious elements, which I think are serious,
Yes.
what life is really about,
Yeah.
why are they here.
Yeah. Yeah.
They never have a chance to ask these questions, powerful questions. And so, as you said before, then it comes to the point where they might be at the end of their earthly lives, and what's happened? How have they grown?
Sure. Sure. Brilliant. Brilliant. I think of the quote from the Buddha who says, "The problem is you think you have time."
Mm.
And what do we do with it is the question. And as we're saying here, it's do you know Patricia Cota Robles?
Oh, I think she's lovely. Lovely
Yes,
energy.
yes. Well, I'll send you. She just put up her newsletter and her new video. She does the weekly videos, and I figured you would be well familiar with her. Basically, she's saying, this is of course not an accident. This is opening the door to a deepening connection between humanity and the company of heaven is her phrase for spirit. And as we're saying here, isn't it amazing that it is, forcing us to retreat into the deeper parts of ourself. What I want to ask, my friend, while we have you here, is for people who don't meditate and don't pray, and this is all, just completely the spiritual crisis of their life, or the great awakening opportunity of their life. What are some suggestions that you might offer to people in terms of how to tap into that God self within, how to begin to make friends with your inner self?
Well, really, we have to be able to switch off. We have to be able to sit quietly. Even if you don't meditate, doesn't matter. I mean, I don't meditate. I haven't meditated for years, but
Okay.
decades. But
Right.
anyway, if you can just sit quiet, switch off distractions, switch off TVs, mobile phones, anything that's going to distract you, find a place of quiet, and really bring your attention to the now. Because the now is the only time that we actually are existing.
Yeah.
We cannot live in the future.
Right.
We cannot live in the past.
Right.
When we live in the future, or try to live in the future, we experience fear. Fear always belongs in the future, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fear of what might happen.
Yeah.
Again, conversely, regret belongs in the past.
Yeah.
So it's no point regretting what's happened, what's been and done and gone.
Yeah.
That's past.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can only ever live in the now.
Yes.
And so really bring your attention back to the now, to the present moment, and allow yourself to sink deeper within. And, if anything comes to your mind, then just let it flow through your mind and out again.
Yes. Yes.
Because we need to be in the now moment.
Yes.
In order to access that deeper level.
Yes. Beautiful. Yeah.
But as you and I know, that it is a much easier process when you've released some or all of your Kundalini, because when you've done that, it is more easy to get into that deeper state.
Sure. Sure. Well, of course, you're saying it so beautifully. I love everything you're saying here. It's so it's really powerful. I used to see a bumper sticker, meditation. It's not what you think. It's one of a favorite. And like you're saying, it's we don't have to, conscious breathing, slowing down, contemplating, music, stillness, silence, coming to peace, observing the thoughts, letting the thoughts flow past, getting to the space between thoughts, and observing them become longer and longer until you find, that there is no thought. You're in that space of just beingness. And this was Patricia's message in her newsletter yesterday to everyone. She's saying basically, as long as you do what is being asked of you, which is to stay home and slow down and just be, which is, to my mind, on the other side of this, the beginning of these energies, there will be a lot more perceptivity, openness, receptivity is the word I want, of grace and healing and peace available to everyone, of course, because as Abraham says, we've sent out these rockets of desire. Oh my God, what's happening? Please help me. I don't know what to do, etc. And Source must wait for us to match that vibration before we can receive, these answers, this help, this support, this guidance, etc. that you're providing so generously here today, from whatever source we're open to receive it, of course. And I love what you've said there about you were born awake, and that's so this is time for the mystics and the the teachers and the healers to really, people are listening from a much deeper place now to these messages. So it's perfect timing to have a chat like this.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about focusing on the breathing. Again, is going to be very helpful to get into that space, and like you say, the space between thoughts.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, when I had my Kundalini release, I had an experience of no thought whatsoever. It was very weird, Lou. I
Yeah.
couldn't even generate a thought if I tried,
Right, right,
but it
right.
was beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
that's
yeah.
when we can tune into the source of our being, and
Yes.
that's when we get our wisdom and
Yeah.
inner knowledge.
Yes. Yes. You're saying it beautifully, my friend. The way my guides put it to me is, and this has been one thing to work with right now, is they say, you have a mind and a body. You are your soul and spirit. Give what you have to what you are, and be healed.
Mm.
Yeah. And so, but of course, the mind and body don't know that, don't remember that. So that's the paradox, that's the challenge. So when we have these huge emotional releases that tend to be, that are triggered by crisis and chaos and trauma and all that, which is what a lot of people are going through, and the fear of death and the fear of illness and the fear of losing what we have, and many people have lost their jobs and their security right now, their retirements and these kinds of things. So we're all thrown deeply back into ourselves. But of course, that's where the answers are. You know, if we'll calm down and listen to our hearts, as we say, then we'll find those answers.
The answer isn't outside of us; it's within.
Exactly, exactly. And
But
I
then,
think
as within, so without. So
yes,
you know,
yes,
you have
as
to
above, so
find that,
below.
that inner kingdom, the kingdom of God or kingdom of heaven, as Jesus called it.
Yeah,
Um, when we find that, then nothing phases us, nothing
right.
affects us in the same way. We no longer participate in the surface dramas, because that's what this is. This is a drama. I'm not saying that this trivializes it, because
Sure.
it is a serious situation, but it
Yes.
is, after all, a drama
Right.
when people are responding out of fear.
Yes.
And of
Yes.
course, fear, when they respond that way, will lower their vibration and
Yeah.
make them less immune to the virus.
Of course. Of course. Yes.
Fear is the very worst thing we can do, to go into fear.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. And you know, it's funny, Kira. You and I hadn't we hadn't chatted for a while before today, and I want to acknowledge something. My conscience is at me here. So I want to tell Joanne and everyone in Denmark that here's the lady who was kind enough to gift me €100 so I could get to the UK, so Joanne could get me to Denmark, and that. So I want to just thank you again for all your kindness, and acknowledge that and appreciate you and love you here for all this.
Oh, you're welcome, Lou.
Thank you. Well, it was, you know, after being in Ireland for 10 years, between, yeah, Joanne and I connecting and having a relationship here, you know, we have traveled just all over in the last year. And now in hindsight, and we met so many new people, my dear friend, and other teachers and healers. So, you know, I so appreciate that your guidance was, that was an okay request, because it was really life-changing for me. So I just really want to thank you from my heart to yours again for all your
Well,
kindness.
our higher self had already told me that, Lou, that it was critical. So that's why I agreed.
Right, right. I knew there was something else going on that I couldn't figure out in my panic and fear. Speaking of fear,
I always respond to the higher self. And in fact, even when it comes down to the most basic things in life, I always check in with the higher self first
right, right.
before I do anything.
Right. Well, you see, this is what we need to learn from you, my friend, because some of us are still learning how important that is. I raise my hand, and you know, it's so you have a lot to teach us and share with us. I want to be mindful of your schedule here, because I know you're mad busy at the moment. Where can people find you, and how should they connect with you to work?
I have actually changed my main website, Lou. I didn't really, funny enough, I didn't really want to. I had no intention to do that, because my website was a very basic, easy to remember name, kira.net. But then I suddenly came across this name, and it was like a light bulb went off, and I thought, I've got to have that as a domain. And it was frequency and light healing.
Great.
So it's a bit of a mouthful. And sometimes I even struggle when I'm typing it on the keyboard.
Sure.
But it's frequencyandlighthealing.com.
Brilliant. Wonderful.
And that's my main website.
Yes.
So.
And darling, you do your monthly activations. What time of the month is that for people?
We're doing a gateway. Let me just check, because I've got a feeling it's the 1st of April.
Okay.
And let's see when. Oh, it's the 1st and the 13th, Lou.
Very good.
Next two. Yeah.
And that is a time you put out to anyone who's interested. It's about an hour long, and you transmit the energy from spirit and your guides, and everyone gets a big boost of energy.
Well, this is the gateway energy. It's the energy which we had on Earth prior to the fall.
Okay, that gets my attention. Yes.
So the gateway was responsible for the light of Atlantis when it was at its peak.
Yes. Well, that's fascinating, because of course in Patricia's teachings over the last 2 years, she has been moving us up through the vibration. And what she said yesterday is that we have sealed the doors now. Spirit has sealed the doors on the 3rd and the 4th dimension. And we are, from this moment forward, fully in the 5th dimension from here on in. And of course, as you're talking about the fall of Atlantis, it's known in the Bible as the fall of grace, and where we all forgot who we were. And now these activations and these blessings are happening to all who are willing, so that we can really remember who we are as spiritual beings having a human experience, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I love you madly. I'm so grateful to you in my life, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Is there anything we can do for you to support you further with your great work?
Just let me point out my website as well for the matrix work, because
yes, please.
if anybody has been diagnosed with this virus or thinks they have it, then please get in touch. There's no charge. The actual matrix recalibration website is https://matrixrecalibration.com.
Very good. That's another mouthful, isn't it?
I know, but that is really a succinct title for it, because this is exactly what the work does. It will recalibrate, or that means it will blueprint a matrix. So if you have say a diseased or organ of the body that's failing, you can actually blueprint it, restore it back to its original code, so it's healthy again. Or in the case of diseases, viruses, bacteria, tumors, you can actually remove the matrix and it collapses. Right.
I have to tell you, I'm getting all this energy right now from the base of my spine while we're talking about this. It's like, whee!
Well, remember on the last one, the light started flashing, didn't it?
Yes.
And by the way, Lou, people might look at that and think that was orchestrated. Well, it wasn't. I didn't do anything. There were no lights on.
Sure.
That was the hierarchy.
Oh, yeah.
Really demonstrating, the light which I'm tapping into. So.
Absolutely, honey. I mean, there will be signs on heaven and earth. And this is the age of miracle and wonder. It's a Paul Simon lyric I have to put into the mix here this morning, and it's just what a blessing, Kira, my friend, to be able to bring some hope and some peace of mind to people who are going through the biggest changes of this lifetime. Many of us. Yeah. So thank you, darling. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Peace and blessings. Talk to you soon. All my love.
Take care. God bless.
Okay. All right. Thanks a million. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao.